because the pitch that I made to Mike specifically, JT's been my partner in crime on the show since we started, since the very first time we went live on Facebook. But Mike is always like, no, I'm a behind the scenes guy. And I'm like, no, we have to have you in front of the camera. Like, and I preach this to salespeople, anybody that'll listen. Like, the quicker you become famous in your industry, the quicker you'll be successful, right? And the more successful you will be. Could you share that a little bit with like some of the people that are probably listening that are, an NMCA racer or a PDRA racer? How valuable, and how life-changing has the visibility that you guys have now like your audiences on social media alone, how different are things now than they were 10 years ago?
You're right. It's everything. You're nobody if nobody's hearing your message, right? Like, think about high school. Think about who the popular kids were in the high school. And it's the kids that talk the most. The quiet kid was never popular, right? The quiet kid had to do something remarkable to get popularity. You had to be a football player. You had to be a cheerleader. You had to be in drama. You had to be on stage. You had to be a singer. At its simplest form in high school, just look at that and scale it. So scale it. We're here now. Well, who are the ones that are the most famous? The ones that'll put themselves out there, the ones that'll have something to say, the ones that are the athletes, the singers, no different. I learned a long time ago listening to Rob Dyrdek, who, the skateboarder, Fantasy Factory and all that stuff. He said,
smart guy too,
really intelligent. And as an entrepreneur, he said, without some form of media, give it newspaper, magazine, television, social. Without that, you're nobody. If you want to be somebody, even the people that had a product to sell that didn't want to be famous bought infomercial time, right? They didn't want to be on it. They didn't want a television show. They didn't want to be a movie star, but they had a product to sell. So they got an infomercial. Without that, without QVC, without putting yourself out there, you have nothing. How do they hear about you? Even now.
Have you guys kind of coached up some of your other co-stars on the show about putting yourself out there and some things to do? I know it needs to be authentic, and sometimes it's just not there, like you said earlier. But you guys, to me, we get frustrated a lot of times because so many of these racers say, I don't need to market myself. I don't need to promote because my on-track performance speaks for itself. Sure. Whereas you guys are kind of the opposite, right? I mean, you guys drive a truck. So it's like we got something else that we need to put out there. And it's more about your personality versus how fast your car is. We saw comments that said, why don't these guys build a no prep Kings car? That's just like completely against your kind of ethos of what you guys have done. And you guys are more about, your show that we're going to talk about here in a minute is about you guys.
Nova.
Yeah, well, right. The Mordor, besides the Mordor Nova, sometime, man. You know what I mean? Though it's about the show's about you guys. It's about your personality, not how quick and how fast your car is, which I think so many people get caught up in.
Yeah, you mentioned have we coached? The show has taken off so fast, and it's been such a whirlwind. We're still trying to figure out what's going on. Which we started filming February 1st of 2013. So this February will be 10 years that we've been doing it.
That's crazy.
And it has been a whirlwind, we're all so busy doing our own thing that we don't ever get to sit down and hang out with those guys. Right. We used to meet for pizza once a week at lunch and, up at this burger joint. We don't get to do that anymore just because of our lives have taken off, gone in different directions. And, And
I don't think that they require all that much coaching. They understand what this wave that we're all riding on, right? But there's a difference between using the leverage for this to expand your ideas, your potentialities, your business, or just feeding your ego, right? And so some of these guys just want to feed their ego, and that's fine. You can do that. You can be famous for being famous and go out there and get on the microphone and, hey, get another episode. Awesome. You got another story to tell at the bar. Or you can give people a message, get something that people can bring home with them, that they can expand on, say, hey, maybe I can apply that to my life. You got to give things that are applicable. You can just be funny. You can just be entertaining. You can just be a badass. You can do all these things, but there's no sense of sustainability, in my opinion, with that. You need to add value to what you're saying, or people will stop listening once the curtains draw.
We've always said, if we're going to be successful, we need to wish success for everyone around us and try to help all those people be successful, because in return, they're going to help you. And if everyone was to do that, we'd all be a lot more successful rather than being jealous of
Mhm.
someone, putting someone down for
Mhm.
whatever reason, whether it's funny or a joke or whatever. We want to help everyone, especially all the street outlaws in our circle. We'll do anything for those guys to help them be successful, because in return, we know that we'll be successful.
I talk about that a lot. It's a scarcity mindset that a lot of times kind of permeates drag racing. I mean, and I think it permeates all of society, but our sport is very, very, everybody's, what's the word? Really protective, right? Like, this is mine. This is my little corner of the sport.
Sure, that's right. Yeah.
And everybody wants to hold on to it. And,
Yeah.
and we do. We preach that all the time. Like, a high tide lifts all boats. Like, what's good for street outlaws is good for drag racing. It's good for NHRA.
Yeah.
What's good for NHRA is good for street outlaws. And I think if our sport, and honestly, you've kind of got me halfway inspired, gosh darn it. And I've had goosebumps for like 7 minutes solid. But I mean, it's that's what we want to do. Like, that's my life goal, is to galvanize our sport. When we introduced Drag Illustrated in the fall of 2005, like, our whole goal was to remove all these barriers and boundaries.
Mhm.
We wanted anybody, like, my little saying was always like, if you've rolled through the water and lit those bulbs, you're my kind of guy. I don't care if it's I don't care if it's a super comp car or a farm truck or a pro mod or a top. I love all of y'all. And I think that we can accomplish a lot together. But it's this segmentation that exists in our sport. I mean, and we even see it, like, as much as the NHRA, everybody loves to bash on the NHRA, but as much as they have largely been resistant to the no prep and like the initially the illegal street racing or the portrayal of illegal street racing on street outlaws, I think there's been kind of a counter to that, is that I don't know that the no prep king guys, they're certainly not receptive to any of the NHRA people really showing up over there, because everybody gets a little standoffish, right?
Maybe, yeah, I can see that. Mm-hmm.
And so it is an interesting thing, but I do think that when I think about, I believe drag racing is the great American motorsport. I really do. Like, everybody can relate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not NASCAR. It's certainly not Formula One or IndyCar. Anybody, every man, woman, young, old, every race, creed, and color can respect pulling up to a stoplight.
Yeah.
Looking over, not today, right? I mean, everybody's had that moment. Or like, my grandma still to this day gets a kick out of whipping out, she calls it kicking it down and passing people. She still gets a kick out of it, right? She's 83, but I mean, it's like, everybody understands a speed contest, right? I'm going to race you from here to there. First one there wins.
That's right.
For where our sport is at, I mean, we're not on. I was watching Sports Center this morning, working out, riding my wife's Peloton, watching Sports Center. I didn't see any drag racing. Right.
Yeah.
I saw a bunch of NASCAR shit, and I saw all sorts of football, baseball, basketball, and all that. But I get frustrated because I think our sport deserves better. And that's why I'm so proud of you guys, so proud of what everyone in that world has accomplished, because really, you're the tip of the sword right now. Right. I mean, you're the tip of the sword, and we need to be swinging that son of a gun around like crazy. So anyways, we'll get off of the soapbox of motivational speak here. But I do.